Hey everybody, welcome back to Facebook for our live demo. I have missed being on Facebook. We tried to do a more of like a Zoom and meeting so it could be more interactive and I could see everybody's faces. But then it's not as accessible. And the whole point of this is for me to just demo things and let it be accessible to as many people as possible. So that you can see how this kind of amazing technology works. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And I'm excited today because we're going to be talking about sleep. So if you've had a chance, probably not because it just came out today, but the blog post this week is all about sleep and some tips for slowing your mind down in the evening and settling into sleep. Sleep in general is kind of a miraculous, hold on, I've got some people in the Zoom meeting, so I need to go tell them to come over here. So that should be a fun thing to figure out, is how to get both things happening at once. We'll just see what happens here. And might do something weird, hopefully not. And maybe what I'll just do is I'll have it going on both. So I'm just gonna maybe try and set my phone right there. Sorry for the distraction. Also, I wanna make sure that you guys can hear me okay. It is the middle of summer on the East Coast here, and so my office is just a little bit hot, so I have a fan on. If you can't hear me very well, I need you to put that in the comments so that I can turn it off while we're doing the demo so that you can hear everything that I'm saying, because you know what I'm saying is very important. Okay, so let's do all of the things that we do at the beginning of this meeting. First of all, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not any of those things, and I'm not diagnosing anything, or am I claiming to treat or cure anything. What I am doing is I am an energetic worker in lots of different ways. I have lots of different titles under that, but basically I work in energetics. So what we're doing is we're looking at the frequencies of the body, the vibrations of the body, and looking for ways to help bring harmony to those frequencies so that the body can heal itself. Okay, all the disclosures aside, when we do these live demos, we are looking predominantly at a software called the Genius Biofeedback app. In my personal practice, I use lots and lots of different modalities, including energetic kinesiology, applied neurology, applied physiology, and those kind of all fall together. And then obviously some sound healing and some light healing and auriculotherapy, homeopathics, essential oils, you name it, I use it. That all comes from my training through the Quantum University. I'm in the process, most of you know, I'm in the process of getting my doctorate there. I highly recommend, if you're interested in going into this field, researching some of the programs they have. They even have a coaching program that would be amazing as a tool if somebody is looking to get into healing in some kind of way and open a practice. That particular program, the Quantum Health Coach, comes board certified. So if you are looking to have some sort of hard credential for those people that need it, then that is one way to get it. Okay, salesy talk done. Let's do a demo. Brendan, if you can just put in the comments that you're here so that I know you're here. And if you're not here, that's okay too. I don't think you're in the Zoom. Nobody's in the Zoom. So hopefully everybody is here in this space. We're going to try and go a little quickly today. I have a client starting right after this. So I may feel rushed and abrupt, but I don't mean to. But sometimes that's just how it has to work. I have to stack things up, as you guys know, if you are already a practitioner in some kind of way. All right, so let's get to the screen share. And oh, I put my camera right where I can't see what's going on. You guys know I do technology so well. Here we go. Here is my screen. And I've already got the aura up and running, but I'm just going to hop back for 1 second so that you can see this particular technology is a quantum biofeedback converted into an app. And so you can use a tablet or an iPhone. And it was developed for the layman all the way up to a practice practitioner. So it's a really versatile tool. I highly recommend it for every family. Because even with just a little bit of knowledge, you can create a lot of wellness with this particular application. But what it does is it uses a couple different things. It uses voice technology that was developed at MIT so that it can, we know now from sound research that our voice carries the energetic frequency of our entire being and also kind of our past. So it tells us our whole story, the frequency of our voice. Voices are like thumbprints. Everybody's is different and everybody's energetic signature is different. So it uses the voice technology, it uses a picture, and then it uses archetypal information like your birthday and your name. And then it takes all of that information and it puts it in, it compares it to a database using an algorithm. And it compares the frequencies of your voice and the sound of your voice and all the things that we put in to this huge database of different frequencies and information. And then it gives us a readout of what is, what's going on in the energetic field of that being. And we'll look to see, we've got highs and lows kind of thing. We've got these reds and blues. They're not really high and low. It's not really linear and things like that. But it tells us like what's kind of in balance, what needs support, and what is the most out of balance or needs the most attention in some kind of way. We'll see red and we'll see blue. That can be likened to hot and cold. That can be likened to kind of I just lost my whole train of thought there. But what I don't want you to think is like that red is more out of balance than blue or blue is more out of balance than red. It's just kind of telling us on this big spectrum, this is where things are. And, oh, I know what I was going to say. The red can be likened to more like an acute situation, like right now time. And the blue can look a little more like a long-term or more of an underlying issue. Okay, that said, once it gives us the readout, it reads it out on the biofield, on the mind, and on the body. So the biofield is our energetic makeup. That's our meridians and our chakras and kind of tells us what's going on in our energy field on that vital level. If you guys have seen me do the 5 bodies of consciousness, then, you know, we're looking at the bliss body, which is that's consciousness. That's the all one. That is the field, the 0 point energy. What we know now from quantum physics is that there is just one energy that makes up the entire universe as we know it and beyond anything imaginable. It is all potential and all possibility. And it's kind of one major frequency. And then as individuals, we are a separate representation of how that potential can be collapsed into reality. So we're all part of that consciousness. We are all connected through that consciousness. So we have that bliss body consciousness. Then we have the supramental level. The supramental level is the level of kind of our predetermined information, like our astrology charts and our Enneagram, our personalities, but also our DNA and our Akashic record. And it's the level of the supramental. It's also the level of our intuition and our creativity. And the only way we access that is through our intuition. And then that filters down to the mind level. So the mind level is how the mind, as we know it, creates thoughts, and the thoughts then govern the physical body. And then the next level down is the vital body. That vital body is the level that has the energetic structures that govern the body, like the meridians and the chakras. And then we have the physical body. So our highest vibration is that bliss body, and then our densest energy, all still of the same energy, the densest energy is the physical body. So the biofield then reads more of that vital body energy, the meridians and the chakras. The body on here would read more of the physical body, and the mind is going to tell us what's going on in the mind level. And then the goal here is that we put together enough information that we create an aha moment of understanding what's going on for ourselves that leaps us up to that supramental level. And the way we heal is through what's called downward causation. So if we get up to that supramental level and we understand ourselves in a totally new way, then the change there will change our thought pattern, and our thought pattern governs our brain chemistry and our body chemistry. Our body chemistry then governs our protein production. Our protein production then governs our DNA, and then we show up physically, right? So we have this kind of downward cascade of how information moves and changes who we physically become. So we literally physically become what's going on at that supramental level, and at the mental level and at the vital body level eventually becomes our physical being. Okay, so today what we're going to be looking at for Brandon is we're going to be looking at sleep pathways. Now, I'm not sure whether or not he actually has a sleep issue going on right now, but he volunteered to do today's demo. So I'm assuming that he maybe has a little something going on. So we're going to go ahead and look at it as if he had called me and said, I have some sleep issues going on. The sleep is up for people. I will tell you, I think with COVID and the stress of and I mean the unconscious collective stress, like the whole world is under a different kind of stress right now. And so it's creating a different pattern of rhythm. And our circadian rhythm is not just our sleep-wake cycle, although that's a big part of it, but it's also our whole day cycle. It's also our life cycle. And so it's all of our rhythms of our lifetime. And it's tied directly to our sleep. So I think the anxiety, can shut down pathways like crazy. It's like a little bit of anxiety can mess with digestion. It can mess with your microbiome. It can mess with the brainstem, gets into the reticular activating system and some other areas of the brain that set off what we call the paraventricular survival system. So then we go kind of into survival mode. Survival mode starts shutting down all sorts of things. It blocks information in the vagus nerve so that we on purpose, we sweat more, we breathe more shallow, our eyes dilate, and we digest less, and we certainly don't want to reproduce, right? So we got this huge cascade of what happens when the nervous system switches from a state of calm to a state of stress. And so often anxiety is the underlying issue when it comes to sleep. People can't shut down. They can't. So what's going on there is you're going from in the autonomic nervous system, you have the parasympathetic, which is the state of relax, and the sympathetic, which is the state of stress. And when we switch into that sympathetic and we stay there for a long time, and especially in our culture, we stay there way too long, pretty much for our lifetimes, and we don't reset with that parasympathetic, then what we get is a really active mind. And the mind, remember, what the mind is doing controls the thought patterns that we're having. The thought patterns control the brain chemistry. The brain chemistry then sends the signal of the brain chemistry is emotion. It's the movement of energy in that vital body. It affects the meridians and the chakras, and then it will eventually affect the physical body, the protein production, and the DNA. So it's really important that we learn to shut down the sympathetic at the end of the day and get that parasympathetic up and running. And so, or get us out of the stress state and into a relaxed state. So that's what the blog is about, is some tips for that, which you can check out. And I would love for you to check it out. It's actually kind of funny because, sometimes it can be. But another way is that we can look at the quantum biofeedback and see what might be going on. So I already took a quick look at the aura. If you guys remember, this is a snapshot of what's going on in the energetic body related to color. And so it kind of tells me that overall what we've got for Brandon is that he's got a nice solid green here. That's a good healing energy up in his higher chakras. And then he's got a little bit of blue-gray going on down in that right corner. So that's in his lower chakras. So that has to do with some communication, his ability to move information and speak clearly, speak his mind, feel empowered to speak his mind. And it's a little mucky in there. So there might be something going on for Brandon where he may not feel like he can fully express himself. And that's showing up a little bit in those lower chakras. Okay, so we can look at the mind, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk it through. I am going to look in the mind first because I definitely want to go get the Theta Brainwave. And you'll see that here. The Theta Brainwave is the bridge between our thinking mind, our we go from like beta, which is thinking, to alpha, which is focused, clear. It's not necessarily full-on meditation, but that's where you're heading. That's when you're calm. That's alpha. And then when you're really in meditation and you're really in that space, you're in theta. And then you move from theta to delta, and delta is sleep. So I want to make sure that theta and delta both get pulled down into this, into the balancing tray. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull up high alpha here too, because remember, alpha is that calm, the ability to calm the mind. And so that's what we're working on. And then I'm going to pull this high gamma. Gamma is our highest vibration. It's our highest self. And so when we are fully, that is consciousness, right? In expression in ourselves. And when we move from theta, from just meditating into just being one with all, that's gamma. And who doesn't want that? So we're going to pull that in. And then I'm just going to look quickly at the neurotransmitters here. And this does not surprise me. What's showing is norepinephrine, GABA, and epinephrine. And these are stress responses. GABA is the neurotransmitter that helps calm the mind. Glutamate is the neurotransmitter that helps us have all that activity. And so GABA helps calm that down. So, and then the norepinephrine and epinephrine are how stress responds in both the brain and the body. So we're going to pull those in. Then I'm also going to get some solfeggio-tones. Solfeggio-tones are ancient sounds that can balance the human energy field. And interestingly enough, the Catholic Church banned them, but they were still used in many of the ancient cultures. The reason why we don't have them is because the Catholic Church switched us out of that sound range and into a different one. The Catholic Church has done some amazing things, and it's done some controlling things. Isn't that just like humans? Okay, so from there, I am also going to go ahead and look at the chakras. First, because they're in blue, which means there's something going on out of balance. But also because this is what I suspected. We've got the brown and the crow, both the brown and the crow. The crown and the brow are both out of balance. And so those govern our higher self connection and also all of the thought processes. And especially near that pineal gland, the pineal gland is part of the sleep pathway, our ability to convert serotonin to melatonin and fall asleep. And then talking to some of those surrounding areas, that the sleep pathways, as we'll see in a minute, are really complicated. And the brow chakra is very involved in that. Okay, and then the last thing I'm going to pull in from the general is any spinal energies that are out of balance, because we want that energy to move up and down the spine easily with complete flow, with nothing blocking that, right? And so I always balance the spinal energy. So now I'm going to go ahead and start looking at sleep in particular. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to pull a few panels where I know that I have some sleep things and add them in. I'm going to look to see if his adrenals are part. I bet they are. So I'm going to just go back and get adrenals too, because I bet there's because the norepinephrine and the epinephrine tell me that maybe I also need to look at adrenals. There's more neurotransmitters and things going on with that, but I'm going to go ahead and look at the adrenals anyway and just see if there's maybe a stress response that's going on. Okay, so now I'm going to run these particular libraries. Now, these are libraries that I've either purchased or I have created in order to work with my clients. Most of these are ones that I've created, but the adrenal work comes from Ariel Policano, who is one of my mentors with this particular machine and a leader in getting people information on using the Genius Insight. She's amazing. I love her. Shout out to her. Okay, so first I'm just going to look at the NEPS pathways. These come from Hugo Tabar. These are called the neuroemotional pathways, and they help me to see how information moves around in the brain chemically and from what nuclei to nuclei, and how that is affecting the energetics of the brain and then obviously the body. So we see right now that the NREM, so the sleep goes in kind of the cycle from waking to NREM to REM, and then comes back out, in and out all night long. So we have these sleep cycles that happen. So we see that the and REM, that means that we're not in REM, and the waking system are both out of balance. But look at that right in the middle, the panic system. Just like everything we've been saying, the panic system is actually the brainstem response to anxiety, right? So we're seeing that anxiety is an underlying issue with sleep right now. So we're going to go ahead and what I have in here are all of the nuclei and neurotransmitters that are involved in these particular pathways. See right here at the bottom, we've got this pineal gland, which we were talking about with the brow chakra and melatonin. And then we have the top, then these are, the locus coeruleus is actually involved in stress response. It's believed to be part of the PTSD response, but it definitely sets vigilance, and it's really, it's one of our main areas that kind of, oops, we lost my reflector. Hold on. Let's just get that back up for you guys real quick. Sorry. Sometimes I start to talk and then it leaves me with no oh, look at that. It has a quick code. Who knew that? Did you guys know this? See if I can. Oh, wait, never mind. Okay, I think you're back. Are we back? That looks good. Let's see. Go back to sharing. Sorry for the technology. I appreciate you guys always being really patient as I get it all figured out. Okay, so then I'm going to keep loading in all the nuclei from the Now, I'm not going to explain all these nuclei to you, but I am going to tell you that the process of falling asleep, staying asleep, and not waking up and running out the door while you're dreaming, because that's what you were dreaming of, is really complicated, as you can imagine. I feel like it's one of the most complicated things that we accomplish every single day. We don't even celebrate ourselves for that, as we should. But here's the trick to sleep. Like, if you can't sleep, the more you think about sleep, the more you can't sleep. It is such a tricky little pathway, you know, like, and it will get out. Oh, REM all the way down here at the bottom is also out of balance, and it's in blue. So REM would be more of the culprit. And so because the REM, he's not getting all the way to REM for some reason. Well, that's what I think. I'm not diagnosing, but from this picture, it's kind of, that's what I feel like. If he can't get all the way to REM, then his other pathways are also out of balance, right? So what we're seeing here is it's a sleep quality issue. He's falling asleep probably, but he's not getting all the way to REM. So he's never really settling all the way down into that deep, restful sleep. So, and then down here at the bottom, we see the rage system. Now we, you know, at the brainstem level, we call it rage. At the limbic level, we call it anger. And at the cortical level, we call it frustration. And so I'm going to go ahead and load it in, because anger in the system will create anxiety. It's a amygdala response, and it could be the underlying reason why he's got some anxiety. So he could have some suppressed anger. Now, this is really common in our society for us to have suppressed anger. First of all, we're taught at a very young age not to express our anger, that it's not okay for us to act like that. And then, but we're not given a good way to, we're not always given a very good way to handle it. And so, multitasking, watch me multitask. I'm closing the Zoom meeting so it doesn't ding on my thing. Okay, so we want to look at that, right? Because it can set off, if we've suppressed a lot of anger, then we're storing it. It can create liver issues. It can create a ton of imbalances. So we want to make sure we're looking at that anger pathway as well. So now I'm just going to look at sleep with adrenals, right? So that we're going to go look back at that anxiety. So, and so here are some things that might help with the sleeping and the adrenals. So meditation, that's in my blog, and it's in there because it's in every one of my blogs. First of all, you should meditate, but there's so much damn research on meditation, and yet most Americans don't meditate. It's just crazy. We need to meditate. And I actually know that Brandon does meditate, but he may need a little more, so that he stays in that higher self and he doesn't drop in those lower kind of energies like anger and anxiety as often. So cortisol being an issue, that's a stress response. Emotional stress, so that maybe that anger or something like that, we'll go get some emotions in just a minute and pop them in there. And then he may need a little more exercise. He may have too much energy that he's not quite using during the day. And exercise has all sorts of benefits for how it rebalances that sympathetic and parasympathetic. Okay, so then these are sleep solutions. These are things that just we could ingest to help with sleep. We're going to use the energetic frequency of them. Then I'm just going to take a quick peek at his adrenals. So this is his adrenal anatomy. It's not really, so the DHEA, that tells me that maybe he needs to do a little more muscle building. And so he may exercise every day, but if he's not doing some like push-ups and weightlifting, then he's not building muscle mass. And muscle mass, actually, the reason why yoga, like consistent yoga and Pilates and Tai Chi and muscle weightlifting and things like that are so important is because they keep muscle tone. And muscle tone is like plays a part in our every aspect of our hormone production and fat release and sympathetic versus parasympathetic. So it's pretty important that we actually continue to build muscle. And so stress away. We're just going to go ahead and add that in. That's a Young Living essential oil. You could use doTERRA essential oils. If you wanted to use an actual oil, you could look up what's in that stress away and use it consistently. Essential oils work through entrainment. They're a high vibration. They're actually the highest vibration of vibrational medicine. And using them daily is how essential oils work. You have to use them consistently, and then your energy field entrains to the energy of the oil. Little side note for you there. Okay, and so, I've already done that. All right, so we've looked kind of at the whole picture of what we wanted to look at there. I'm just going to pop right back in for a second and look at his brain integration. Now, this is based on my training in brain integration, and I've built a lot of libraries around brain integration. And the brain integration, I can't see if you guys are asking me questions, so I'm just going to move that for a second. Hold on. Okay, so that way you can ask me questions if you want to. So this just kind of tells me, now I can look over here and look at like how his whole brain is integrating information. And what I want to add in here is a couple things. I want to see what's in the blue. So the paraventricular survival system, you guys heard me mention that. That's those are the areas of the fight or flight response. It kind of governs the brainstem governing of that area. And so I just wanted to pop those in there. And I'm also going to balance his corpus callosum as it relates, because our corpus callosum, which is the way the right brain and the left brain communicate with each other, it has a direct tie to the amygdala and the paraventricular survival response. So if the amygdala is having a response to anxiety or anger, it can shut down his right brain, left brain communication. And the reason why that's important is because that's our ability to like work it out. And so if we don't have access between the two sides of the brain, it takes both sides of the brain to do just about everything. And so we want to kind of make sure that we're always looking to make sure the brain can integrate this information. And in this situation, it's having a little bit of stress. So I'm just going to go ahead and add my highs and lows. Now you're going to see me do something pretty crazy. I'm going to muscle monitor on myself for him to see if there's anything else that I need to put in there from this other than just the highs and lows, because it may show that it's imbalanced, but now that I'm talking specifically around sleep, some of this might not be in balance in general. It might need a little more support. So I'm just going to quickly run through it and see if I need to add anything more. And I'm going to add them in there. Interestingly, the anger is not showing here, so it's showing more of like a panic situation or anxiety situation. Okay, and then I don't need. Okay, so that's all I need for him, for us to do a really solid balance on sleep for him. Now, I've worked with sleep with a lot of people, and I've had people that I've had one session and they were sleeping, and that's all they needed. And I've had people that I've worked on sleep for months, because we're just peeling away the layers and we're just cleaning the energy field and cleaning the energy field. And there's been a lot of things that we've needed to work on. So, it's a very individual thing, and sleep is very complicated. Some people can't sleep, and it's as simple as the fact that they weren't turning off their screen early enough. They start turning it off and they sleep. And some people have a lifetime worth of issues with sleep, and it takes a lot longer for us to get all of those different components in balance so that sleep then can be easy. Okay, so now I'm just going to run it for just a couple minutes so that we can look to see, just even 3 minutes, just to see what balance is, and then we'll look at his aura one more time so that we can see how that goes. If you guys have any questions, I know I'm talking really fast. Well, first of all, I've had caffeinated coffee because we were out of decaf coffee, and I only drink decaf coffee for the most part. Obviously not only. It's some wishful thinking, but I drink decaf coffee on a regular basis, and then today I've had caffeine, so my mouth goes a lot faster when I've had caffeine, and I get excited about this. So you add the two together, and I talk fast. So if you guys have questions and you need me to slow down, always put that in the comments, and then I will answer them. And if you have any questions now about what's going on, sleep pathways, or how different things that could be affecting sleep, that's what I want to talk about while it's running, is kind of some general things that could be affecting sleep. So first of all, belief systems. We'll just start all the way up at that super mental level. The belief systems that we have kind of govern everything else. So if you have really deep-seated beliefs around sleep, and your sleep cycle in particular, then that's going to control everything else, right? So looking at your core beliefs about what were you told about sleep? What have you been, what do you kind of believe around like falling asleep and waking up, and what's the right side? Do you believe that we need 7 to 8 hours of sleep? Most people believe that. They've been told that their whole lifetime. But there's actually good research that we don't need that we actually should sleep based on a certain kind of body type, right? So there's like, it's all kind of relative to our belief system. So looking at those core beliefs around sleep could be very helpful. And then some of the physical things that have been looked at that could be an issue if we were looking are definitely adrenals and the anxiety pathways, an active mind in the evening. Most Americans do not have an evening wind down routine. And I think that is the biggest culprit for sleep for most people, that our minds are too active. We go to bed active, and in the blog, I kind of wrote about that. It's time for bed and the 10,000 more things you try and do before you actually go to sleep. So calming the mind, taking the time to separate your day from your nighttime, and in training to that time, doing it consistently, then that starts to signal to your body it's time to fall asleep. So that means turning off your screens. Now that's not just for the mental activity. The screens produce blue light. The blue light, the way it reacts throughout the whole visual process, actually wakes us up. When it gets into some of those limbic areas, it sends a signal that says it's time to wake up. So the blue light from the screens is a thing. But even if you're like, you wear the glasses, or your glasses have the tint, or you put the nighttime thing on your iPad, that's great, except that you're still mentally active. And that's the other half of that component is that you want to be less mentally active. Sorry, my hair is kind of crazy. Okay. So taking the time to calm down, that can include things like a whole evening routine of taking a bath, using lavender to help. Lavender's been proven to help kind of instigate the sleep pathways, help calm everything down, reset into that parasympathetic, and help us to move into sleep. Self-massage, dry brushing, reading, journaling, meditating, yoga in the evening. All of those things can be built into an evening routine that will help you to help signal to your body it's time to fall asleep and calm the mind down. Okay, we've run it for 3 minutes, and let's just see what that did to his aura. And this is how I can visually see that we moved energy in some kind of way and what's going on. Often when we're working with somebody, let's say I'm working with somebody for an hour, we'll see, look at that. So we, like in 3 minutes, we're starting to move big energy, lots of yellow in here. yellow being from the solar plexus energy. It's our wisdom, it's our self-confidence, and it's kind of the seat of who we are. So there's lots of information moving and energy moving. We talked about there's some emotional stuff, so he's probably moving a ton of emotional stuff. And then we've got that band of purple up there, which is his higher consciousness kind of guiding the process, which is awesome. Okay, so I'm going to put this back on for him, and I'm going to run it for 20 minutes, which seems to be the right amount of time for people when we're doing a session like this, is to run it for about 20 minutes. Although I have found that even in 3 minutes, we can make huge amounts of energy move. So, okay, you guys, that is your demo for today. And I don't see any questions, so I'll give one more second to say, if you guys have questions, go ahead and throw them up there. And if not, just a reminder, I'm working fully remotely and working through Zoom sometimes. And also I have some subscription programs if you're interested in that. And you're always welcome to reach out to me through our social media or through email if you have questions or want to know if there's a way that we could work together, or just you're curious about the Genius Biofeedback and how it might help you, your family, or if you're a practitioner, how to put it into practice. So please reach out to us and share this live demo. Will be every other week with all of your friends and family, because there's no one in the world who couldn't use this technology to make their lives more balanced and to be well. So that's it for this week, guys. Thank you for being here. I'm so grateful for my community, for the way that you guys support me. And if you have questions, let me know, and I will see you in a couple weeks. Now watch me try and sign out without looking away from the camera. I can't.